we'll get going. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. I'm Barbara Coffey, Director of Economic Initiatives for the City of Tucson. And welcome to our June edition of our monthly webinar series for small business, Connecting for Success. Today, we have two dynamite guest speakers to share some insights with you to help you gain more visibility for your business and give you more resources for your business. And we will take your questions as we go, so feel free to enter those in the chat, and we'll get to as many of those as possible in our time together today. We do record the session, and so it'll be available for everyone by tomorrow afternoon. You can find links to all previous webinars at connecttucson.com. Today, what I'll do is I'll introduce both of our guests, and then we'll do a moderated panel. We'll have a good conversation. And so that'll be our format for today. And so I'll start with some introductions. Chef Mateo Otero is an award-winning chef and a proud Tucson native. With over 20 years of culinary experience, he opened up Raleigh's Mexican Patio on South 12th Avenue in 2017, which serves up traditional Mexican cuisine using heritage foods that Mateo likes to call Sonoran Tucson food, with a fun modern twist. In such a short time, Raleigh's has already become a Tucson staple and foodie destination featured all over TV, YouTube, and other social media outlets. Raleigh's has also consistently held its certification with the UNESCO City of Gastronomy. Mateo is active with his community and has used his restaurant as his platform to give back to surrounding schools and community-based organizations. Jacinta Esquer is also a Tucson native who serves as the community builder at La Suprema Works and Events, a woman-owned local co-working facility in historic Barrio Viejo. She has a corporate and entrepreneurial background focused on building a positive environment for others, cultivating community through connection and caring for others as well. Outside of work, she's a foodie herself. You can find her exploring all the local food establishments around Tucson. So I want to say welcome to both of you. So glad that you're here with us today. Thanks again.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Good. Oh, good. Well, this is just a great opportunity. And I want to tell you, we've been doing this now for a couple of years, since the pandemic of 2020. So we're well into 2022 now. Hard to believe we're almost to July 1. But here we go. And we continue with these monthly opportunities, and we record them so that we can have businesses review time to time. They'll find them on our YouTube channel, and our website takes them there. So it's easy to watch some of these that really have been fantastic, and they're only as helpful as the guests that come on board. So I just appreciate both of you for taking a little bit out of your time, because I know how busy you all are as small business owners yourselves. So let's start. I'll start with Chef Mateo. Share a little bit about your journey, Chef, up to the point that you opened Raleigh's in 2017. How did you get started in the food business? What led you to opening your own establishment?
So I've been in the industry since I was 14, like literally getting a paycheck for cooking. So I was 14. I'm 42 years old now. My grandfather actually was a local chef here in Tucson back in the 60s and 70s and 80s. And I knew I wanted to be a chef since I was probably 5 years old. And so when I was about 23, I moved to Scottsdale. I went to the Cordon Bleu program and graduated from there. And when I got back to Tucson, I started a catering business that I had for 13 years before I opened up Raleigh's. And how I got to open up Raleigh's was because, I always used Facebook as my platform since back when Facebook first started back in probably 2005, 2004. And so I started building a lot of clientele from that. And throughout my last years of catering, people are like bugging me on Facebook, when are you going to open up a restaurant? And I was actually kind of going a different direction. I kind of was happy with catering. And so I was kind of being indecisive with the restaurant. And so finally I was like, you know what, I got to open up a restaurant. And so that's how Raleigh's came along. But I didn't want to do something with too much overhead, nothing really pricey. And I found a little building on 12th Avenue, and it just made it work.
Well, you're brave. I'll say that because I think some people might liken the opening of a restaurant to sort of lighting a barrel of money on fire, right? Like you just like it's a tough business.
Oh yeah.
It's difficult. And so, I mean, what for you has been maybe the most challenging time on that journey?
Probably most likely it probably was COVID. We're barely a year and a half new restaurant and then COVID hit. And so I had to do a lot of adjusting. I changed my menu. I changed my hours. My everything changed, like my whole shopping, my inventory. But either way, it was just adjusting to the change of COVID. You know, like doing takeout. We couldn't do dining seating, so people just order at the window and we'll run it to your cars. Like just all the changes and just adjusting, you know, that was probably the most difficult, but
So
we made it happen.
you did. You're still here. You're still standing. And so you mentioned Facebook. You had already been using Facebook. Talk about that and how did that help you when you needed it most?
Okay, so Facebook, the reason back then when Facebook was only used from college kids, and when I got back when I moved in from Scottsdale, one of my first jobs was on campus. It was actually at a Jewish frat house at the U of A. So that was one of my main accounts for my catering business. And so I learned a lot from those guys, and they're the ones who put me on Facebook. Nobody was on Facebook but college kids. And so a lot of my clientele first started off with college kids, and then next, you know, everybody got on Facebook, and you know, and Facebook helped me a lot get like all my first networking of catering. That was back in 13, 14 years ago.
How did you build that following though? Like what were some of the things you would do or talk about?
What I did was pretty much every single day I posted a food pic, either a breakfast, lunch, or dinner food pic, and just to get feedback. And that's how I started building followers, because I was just kept on blasting food pics. And this was back then. No one was even, a lot of people weren't even doing that. It's before Instagram. So, you know, then when Instagram came along, like I knew I had to change to that and start working on my Instagram following. And now TikTok's here. So it's a whole different story now. But
I know there's always something new. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to keep up for sure. But you point out something really interesting. Each one is a little bit different, right? So if you're trying to build your brand or your visibility, you do it a little bit differently on each of those platforms. I mean, Instagram is certainly photo heavy, and so that probably worked well for you. Is there a certain voice, a certain different way you talk to the different audiences? What would you say about that?
Well, it was kind of cutting off right now.
Okay.
Could you repeat that?
Yes. So just talking about those differences, right, between Facebook and Instagram and now, yeah. How do you create a different, conversation with the different audiences?
Well, yeah, so it is a totally different audience. Instagram, of course, is like people like between a lot of 14 up to 35 that's really heavily into it. Facebook's a little more older crowd. So, Facebook, for me, having a restaurant, there's a new thing called foodies. So, I had to keep up with presentation of food, kind of like change my menu a little up what was trendy and do cool specials so the foodies can come along. And when you have those foodies that's following, that's awesome, because when there's good food, they'll talk about it and bring other foodies along, and those other foodies will start sharing your food, and that's how you start gaining followers.
Yes, it seems very organic, and it's certainly, again, people telling people, sharing and boosting and promoting your, everything that you're putting out there. So it's exciting. Do you get hung up on the numbers? Do you get hung up on the metrics at all? Like I imagine having your first 10 followers was exciting. Do you know what your numbers are today and do you care? I guess that's a good way of asking it.
Oh, well, Facebook, where it's maxed out, you can only have 4,000 on your personal, but on your business one, you can have as much. I think so. I think on my Facebook, I got like 11,000 followers or more. And then on my Instagram, I have like 24,000 followers.
Wow, that's really cool. I mean, I can't wait to ask Jacinta how that compares with maybe some of the things that she has seen.
And none of them are paid. They're not paid.
Right.
They're all organic. And
Yeah.
that's another thing. You have to be organic. Well,
Yeah,
you'll see the actual real numbers through your business when it's more organic. You can pay for followers, but you might not have the business.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that makes you authentic, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I love about it. And so maybe share what your proudest achievement as it relates to some of the marketing efforts or being featured on any of these platforms or on YouTube. I mean, what has been sort of your most proud moment with all of that?
Probably PBS. They did I think it was called Arizona Illustrated. They did a nice piece on us when we first opened, and I thought that was really cool. And this was when we first opened, so 4 years ago, and people still come in the restaurant to this day and be like, "Hey, we saw you on PBS." So I was like, "When? Like 4 years ago?" "No, just last week." So they're still airing that that episode. And also, of course, when Mark Wayne's, you guys know who Mark Wayne's is, right?
Yes.
Mark Wayne's is a famous foodie, has like 8 million followers on YouTube, and he came to Rollies, and that was awesome. I mean, I always wanted to meet him, and it was so cool that he was in Rollies, and that video is doing pretty well. I think that's about 3 million views already.
That's awesome.
The one when he came to visit Rollies.
And I bet you have maybe a photo of that or a mention of it in the restaurant. Do you make sure that people know?
Oh yeah. And so once in a while, I'll share the time when he came on like my story. So that's what also my Instagram, I always make sure, like I have probably over, well, I know I have over 1,000 posts on my Instagram because I basically almost post something every single day. If I don't post it on my feed, I at least post 6 different things on my story every single day. You got to, post your feed, post your story. If you don't want to do your feed, post your story every single day. If it's a picture of your dog, post it. People, when they see your story lighting up on the top, and more every single day, they're going to keep on to your story. That's how you get more people into your story. And you gain a lot of followers that way as well. But every day because your story is on there for about 48 hours. So the second day, I'm up to about 2,000 people viewed my story.
So a couple things come to mind. First, I love that, yeah, there is the story feature, but it is all about storytelling, right? For the business owner, if you can tell your story as a business, it becomes real, right? And it really does become something that people can interact with. But let me ask you, because I'm sure business owners are wondering, as busy as you all are with the day-to-day operations, with everything that you have to do and manage and be part of, how do you get it done? How do you manage all of that? And is it you doing that, or do you have someone on your team?
No,
what's that? Yeah. What's that like?
I pretty much do it. 90% of what you see on Instagram or Facebook from Rollies, it's me. And, it's just, it takes a little patience. It takes about a good 4 minutes when it's like a picture, like I got to get the food ready, got to get the right angles. But the stories I could do all day, very easy. Like I just kind of, even sometimes I repost like old feed, but I make it look different.
Mm-hmm.
But
well, it sounds like, again, I'm hearing the importance of the commitment, right? You have to be committed to doing that. But it sounds like you enjoy it, which that's good.
Yeah.
For those that might think of it as a chore, what would you suggest? Do you calendar time for that? Do you do it,
No,
how does that, what do you think?
way I look at it is you need to do it, especially nowadays. And if you're barely on Instagram doing stuff, you need to like flip it over to TikTok, because pretty soon Instagram's gonna be Facebook,
Mhm.
and that one is, and TikTok. I didn't want to do TikTok because it's kind of complicated, and I felt like that's really for kids, but actually TikTok is like taking over everything,
Mhm.
and so now that's kind of exhausting. I have to do 3 different ones, but either way, you just to me, you have to do it. It's free marketing, and
Yeah,
I
and so
think,
why not? Yeah, exactly.
why not? Because pretty soon it's not going to be free.
Yes,
And right now is the time to take totally advantage of all 3 platforms.
that's really great advice. And I'm wondering if you think that that has then contributed to you noticed by PBS, by some of these other shows. Are they scrolling these platforms and looking for standouts?
Oh
Maybe,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
that's
Yeah.
really,
That's where now the hashtags come in too.
it,
When you hashtag, like me, I hashtag sometimes on diners, dives.
Yeah.
Brother Guy Fieri, that's my dream for Guy Fieri to come to Rollies one day.
that's
So
awesome.
I always hashtag him, and a lot of the hashtags, that those go a long way as well.
That's a really great point. Tagging someone or the shows, or
Yeah.
again, using their hashtags, that is fantastic. What is some of the best, maybe what is one of your best hashtags that you've created for your business?
Mm,
Anything come to mind?
um,
I just think it's funny. You can think about it.
right this right now, I always hashtag Tucson Best Video, or hashtag just my restaurant, Roy's Mexican Patio.
Yeah.
And those.
Okay.
Oh, and another thing, I hashtag a lot that I could see a change. I always hashtag the University of Arizona and Arizona Wildcats for local, and to keep it fresh, because U of A students, it's always new. So they come as freshmen and they leave out, and they come back as alumni, and
Yeah.
they're gonna go back to the places they love.
That's great advice. I love this. See, already I feel like we've gotten, 100 nuggets of wisdom out of this discussion. So, I mean, I think this is really powerful. And think about that, a college audience. You're right. There's a loyalty there. There's a connection. And then not only are they local for a while, but they go away, but they continue to follow what you're doing, and they'll
Yes.
come back. And so I think all of what you've said resonates, is truly powerful. So that's awesome. And I see we're starting to get some comments in the chat. And I think there is a question from Ernesto about this. Does the social platform, for example, Instagram, offer reporting for click rates so you can measure the impacts of hashtags? Would you know the answer to that, Mateo?
No, I never noticed any of that for the hashtags.
Okay.
No, I haven't. I haven't noticed that. But
Maybe
there's
not like.
not for the hashtags, but for the insights, you can always see who's you got your if you got new followers, or you got your non-followers that are responding to your
That's important. That's good. So there's some data there. And I think that's the key. Take a look at it and let it tell you something about what's happening. Yeah. Can you still hear us okay?
Yes.
Good, good, good. Well, before we move on, I want to ask if you had something that you would do differently so far in your journey as a small business owner. What would that be? What would you, if you had something to do differently, if you had it to do all over again, what would that be?
Let's see.
Always good lessons learned. Like, it's nice to hear about the pitfalls so everyone.
Yeah. Probably get a bigger place. Maybe or a place with a bigger parking lot for sure. That's probably always been our problem since we opened, but I guess that's a good problem to have in a way.
That
But
is a great, I always say a parking problem is a good problem to have. And, but yes, you're growing fast. You needed more space pretty quickly. That's a fantastic sign. And hopefully that just means you will be able to continue to expand in Tucson. So that's fantastic. And what would you say is on the horizon for you? Is there a next big thing or a next opportunity that
Yeah.
you're looking?
well, actually, I bought a food truck. It sounds like I'm going backwards, but the food truck's going to be parked at the annex on the west side of the Mercado.
Okay,
And so I'm not going to be mobile food truck. It's going to be parked there. We're going to build a patio. It's going to have a little bar. So that's going to be like our second location. So that's around the corner, hopefully in the next couple months. And, I always got something up my sleeve, but right now, that's what's going down right now in the next couple months.
that's great. So you'll be telling stories about that. I can imagine.
You'll see if you follow.
Yes. So there's a couple of other questions. One here, how will you know when you're ready to open a second restaurant? That comes from Ernesto.
How do you know when you're ready to open? Well, what gave me the confidence to open a restaurant was probably, I was already in the business for 13 years, catering for my own self. And I built a strong clientele with that. So of course I was scared a little, but but then a smart thing to do is to start small and don't start big. And, I was going to start with the eggshell and build from the ground up. And that would have cost me a lot of money. I wouldn't need a business partner. Don't ever go with a business partner. If you could do it yourself, do it yourself, and just have confidence in yourself and whatever you do. And you will know when it's your time.
So in that second one, when you're ready to expand or have a second outlet, how would you know you're ready for that?
Because then again, it goes back to your following and loyalty of people, and you just feel it in your gut where's the right locations. And of course location is everything as well too. But like right now, Rolly's is not even it's on 12th Avenue, but we're still not in a good location. We're a little building hidden from another big Mexican restaurant, basically in the same parking lot. And it's really easy to miss us. And, I made something out of nothing basically. And it's that the confidence is there already from what I was working with from the first. So the second time around, I feel 100%, that it's going to be good. And another thing, I feel like I'm doing it smart. That's why I got a truck, especially in times like this. I wasn't going to go into a building downtown and pay $10,000 a month on rent, and right then, doing something like that. Well, of course it's downtown, but then, it would change my whole dynamic of everything. Like, if it come downtown, it will have to be more of a night thing, and Rollies is more family. And so that's why I feel this was a smart route that I was going, and I'm pretty confident it's going to work. And if it doesn't, I got a truck that's paid off. That's it.
You've got some diversification going, so that's helpful. That's helpful. And it begs the question that a lot of restaurateurs have been having lately, though, with workforce. Like, maybe what you have is manageable. You've got the people on your team that you need to run the business. Is it scary to think whether you can recreate that at a second establishment or even for your food truck? Are you worried about having the right people and the workforce?
Oh yeah, of course. That's one of the biggest things right now is finding people. But my trucks, it's going to be a real short menu too. I'm not going to do a full menu. And, that's another smart move that I'm going to do. I'm not going to do a full menu. People are kind of upset about we're not doing a full menu. They can go 4 miles down the street and there's Rollies, but I'm going to do different menu items on this, on my truck. So it's just going to be more super fast casual, but it's going to be really cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And in the chat, it's blowing up with all of this words of encouragement about definitely come downtown. Downtown needs more food trucks. Everyone is very excited about
Well,
what
I'm gonna be close. Yeah, I'm gonna be close downtown. I'll be at the annex. It's down Congress
Right.
West.
which is basically it's downtown now with connection by the streetcar. You're going to be
Yeah.
in that's a grand location. I think it's going to be a fantastic opportunity for others to enjoy what you have to offer. So this is a question from another one of our attendees. As someone who just moved to Tucson, this is from Caitlin, and wants to start a small business that will travel to different areas. Do you include travel costs in your services? So how does, I guess maybe in your pricing model, or how does that work? How do you cover that?
Well, now, since, like it's funny because when I had a catering business, of course, I was traveling and all that. When I did have the catering kit, I did add a traveling fee. But now with the restaurant, I just started doing catering packets, but it's for pickup only. So I don't have to take it anywhere. You come and pick it up. And so that's helping me out too. And they're for small parties. I'm not doing big catering no more, but so I don't have to take it. So they're responsible for coming and picking it up, and that works out.
Great, great. All right. Well,
But you do want to, if you are traveling, you should have a traveling fee, especially nowadays.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, good advice. Well, let's take a minute and move over and talk to Jacinta. I would love to hear about La Suprema and what the vision was for La Suprema as a co-working facility, or how it all came about. Tell us a little bit of that story.
Yeah, and thanks again for this, Barbara. This has been great. And I have to add before I answer your question, Rolly's has the best birria ramen on Thursdays and Saturdays, just so everyone knows.
Thank you.
Just need to plug that. So the story behind La Suprema is, so La Suprema was originally a Chinese market, and then it was a tortilla factory. Our co-founders purchased the building in 2019 and renovated it. If you come here, you'll see that there's a lot of the original building is still intact. Nothing was demolished. It was, renovated, and the original floors are still in here, and much of the building, the adobe as well. And the vision behind it was to have a space in a good location for co-working, and also for small business owners, entrepreneurs, and other folks to be able to come together in a really good location. We are just near the TCC and just down the street actually from the annex. So we're in a really good prime location, very close to downtown. But there wasn't anything at the time in this specific area like this. There was actually one co-working space at that time in Tucson. And shortly after we opened, they were in the process of closing, and then a couple others popped up, and now there's several actually in Tucson. But that was the original vision, was to have a place where people could come to work, collaborate together, entrepreneurs, business owners, remote workers, all of the above, in a really great location, and also in a really beautiful space, which is exactly what La Suprema is.
It's a great adaptive reuse, as you mentioned, to be able to take the historic building and repurpose it and keep it alive and contributing to the district that it's in. It is fantastic. And so you all did a fabulous job. And I'm curious if you can share the value of a space like that and a co-working space for small business owners, given that you've now watched several, a variety of clients come and call the place home for business operations. What has that been like for them, and what's the value for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. The main thing that I hear constantly again and again is the ability to be productive and to really focus, and also to build community, and be with folks that have similar / shared values. So some of our values are community is really important to us, as is greater good first, and giving back. So the people that we attract and the people that are members here, regardless of their background and whether they're business owners or remote workers, et cetera, have those same values. So I've yet to encounter anyone here that was not nice, that was not genuine, that also didn't love local, like everything in Tucson, whether they newly moved here, they're exploring moving here, they've been here a long time. Anyone here I've encountered is really excited and enthusiastic about supporting local businesses. So what's great is it's kind of this ripple effect where, you know, we're a small business, we have one location, but the people that are in our space and that are members here that are business owners are also supporting local. And we have some degree of influence on that as devout foodies ourselves, and also people that love Tucson and support local as well.
Yes, that's a great value to have. And of course, that helps our economic development efforts as we support local, and it keeps things in our community, it keeps the dollars spending in our community and supporting those businesses that we want to survive. So we've been talking about marketing as a way to survive. We've been talking about how the digital marketing was necessary, especially during the pandemic. Some folks were doing that early on ahead of time, but it certainly became clear that it was going to be necessary for many to survive the last couple of years. What are some things that you all have done, actually even opening right in the midst of the pandemic? I believe it was either right before or right after. What are some things you all had to do to promote La Suprema in this digital world?
Yeah, we opened right in the midst of the pandemic in the spring of 2020. So yeah, right in the thick of it. So we were on social media from day one. Our previous community manager, who is still a member here, I might add, it's like once you come here, you don't leave, but in a good way, has a marketing background. And even while the building was being renovated, there was stories being posted on Instagram. There was hard hat tours that were taking place and being offered, just a lot of marketing around the process of the building being restored and renovated. We also had a location right across the way where we were located while things were being renovated. It was a much smaller footprint, but we were right here. So really the process of La Suprema being built up to be what it is now was used as a base for our social media, in addition to the space we were in for folks, because we were really running a smaller footprint of our business at that time. I think I answered your question. I don't know if there was another part I missed.
Well, I know you do great email communications. So I received some of your great newsletters, and there's always, again, some local flavor to that, and other things going on. And again, you mentioned building community. So I think everything about your messaging supports that, which is really, which is awesome, because again, it's talking about creating a brand, an identity for your business, and you do that well. What I might add is you probably also help the small business owners in your facility with some of the things maybe that they're tackling related to marketing. Is there some programming, or have you seen your business owners that reside there be creative with the way they have built their own identities?
Yeah, another great question. One of our other slogans is "We're your place to grow," and we have an array and a really diverse folks that are here in terms of the businesses that they run or that they work for, if they're remote workers, where a lot of them are working on their own marketing, or they might be working with someone and delegating or hiring that out. What we do is we spotlight where we can the folks that are in our space as our members, right? So we have a member wall when you first walk into the building that kind of showcases who we have here, that makes La Suprema what it is. We've had member marketplaces in the past where we spotlight what people have, either as services or products that they might be selling. Same in our newsletter in terms of promoting people. And then also encouraging like references or referrals between our members. So, as community builder, I know everyone the best because that's my job. So I'm great at facilitating, connecting people together where there might be a need or just like a conversation where someone's talking about something and I know a member of ours that maybe helps with that or knows someone that does. So that's how we've helped support and focus on marketing for the members in our space. I don't know that we can take credit for all of our members' marketing and the way that they do their businesses because they're all pretty established and incredible people. But I'd like to say that the space we provide and the community we provide, the people that are here that make it what it is, helps be the perfect container for their businesses to thrive and for them to thrive.
I like that. I think that's great. I think you need a creative space to be creative. So it's certainly helpful.
Absolutely.
It doesn't hurt. And speaking of spaces, right, you also have a really amazing event space on site. So how does that site utilized? How have businesses also utilized that to achieve some of their goals?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, I have a small, very small slide presentation and I just have
Sure.
pictures on the front. So I'm going to share it. It's only
Oh,
2
perfect.
slides.
Let's do it.
As you can see a little bit of the space. So to answer your question, this is predominantly inside, I might add,
Yeah.
but this is half of our event space. So we do have member events every month. We have an array of them, and typically we will have like happy hour events, and those are usually in our patio, which is largely what serves as our event space. So that's a good opportunity for folks to be able to interact with one another, to collaborate, or network, I should say, not collaborate. Hopefully it leads to collaboration. In addition to, our members have had events in our space before as well, and they get special pricing being a member that's different from the public rate. So we have events where they're able to network together, to make new connections, in addition to being able to use the space for themselves as they see fit as well.
Awesome. I have attended some events there, so that is firsthand knowledge of how it really works and how it does. I love what you said about networking leads to collaboration. I think that's a really important point. A lot of people say, oh, I don't like networking. I'm not good at it. I'm, nervous about it. And actually a facility like yours is a great place to practice that because you've got the small group of folks that, can get together and get to know each other and learn how to make those connections and meet people for the first time and then build on that. But that's exactly the kinds of outcomes you want is the collaboration. So I think that's really great. So if you, I guess if you had to say, what are some of your lessons learned that you've seen, even just getting this business started and being part of the team that's really gotten it to where it is today? What are some lessons learned or some things that you wish you could do again if you had to do over again?
Yeah, great question too. So lessons learned is what I'll start with. And what I would say, and I'll give a little bit of backstory and context, is before I was a community builder at La Suprema, I was actually a member here and started coming a couple of months after it originally opened, September of 2020. So I benefited from the space, and everything that I speak is 100% truth and honest, like from the heart, in terms of what the space does and how it functions and how it can really help people, do their best work and everything else. Which is to say that everything that has come together collectively for La Suprema has been a group effort, from our co-founders and them working together and creating this beautiful space. That was a dual effort. Along with the staff that have worked here, we've been a small team the whole time, very tight knit, because it's incredible leadership and folks that own this space. But all of it is a group effort. It's not done just by one person. So being able to lean into our strengths has been a big lesson, and to ask for help from one another, and not doing everything ourselves either. What makes La Suprema beautiful is We have people that come in to help us take care of the space in addition to us taking care of the space. So all of it's collective effort. And it's a lot easier to shine when you can lean into support and are willing to ask for it so that you can be in your strengths more. Yeah. And then the other question that you asked was if we could do anything over again, what we would do differently. Probably not opening during the pandemic. Like if there was any ability to have hindsight or forecast the fact that the world was going to shut down and change hugely, that would have been swell. Yeah, that was the not optimal time to open, but you know, we did well even throughout that, and have been able to stay here and continue doing our best. So
That's
hopefully that
awesome.
answers your question.
No, that's great. And Mateo, if I'll ask you to unmute yourself again and maybe respond to that. Some of the things Jacinta was saying is talking about the importance of being able to ask for help and sort of create the team for you to be successful. You know, how do you respond to that? What's it been like for you? Oh, and hit your unmute again. You had it for a minute. There you go. Yes, perfect.
Okay.
So what do you think? How, again, that advice about asking for help when you need it, not trying to go it alone, building a team that can contribute to your success. Does that resonate with you?
Oh, yes. It's just basically your team that you have. Just makes it like, if you feel like you have a good team right now, make sure you just take care of them, and you want to keep them as long as you can, and just keep everybody happy. Make sure you give them a little pay raise, making sure you give them time off, and so they don't feel overwhelmed, and you just want to keep them, because it's, I mean, right now it's really hard to find people that want to work. And that's probably, you know, tell you the truth, in running a business, that's probably the hardest thing is having employees and keeping employees, good employees.
Well, that's great advice, because I know that a lot of folks who are listening are probably encountering the same challenges, right? And wanting to keep good people once they found them, because I think the hard part is sometimes finding the right people, but once you have them, just doing the little things, as you mentioned, to keep them feeling good, keep them plugged in and productive, by sort of honoring who they are, right, as human beings and having families. Yeah. So I think that's awesome. So the news for our office, Jacinta, about I guess that relates to La Suprema, is that our small business navigators will start holding office hours there. So Mateo, you can spread the word with any of the fellow business owners that you're networking with, but you'll have a place now as small business owners to come a couple days a week. We're going to do Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 4. You'll have our small business navigator team, Francisca Villegas and Narda Flores,
Awesome.
and a couple of others. As we grow our team, they will have an opportunity to do business counseling on site at La Suprema. So it's convenient, there's free parking, there's easy access, and a comfortable atmosphere, as you've heard and now seen in the pictures. We're really excited about this. And I think, again, it gets us out of City Hall, where sometimes, you know, it's hard to pay for parking and try to get upstairs and you know, all of these things that, when I know business owners don't have a lot of time to begin with. So we wanted to make it as accessible as possible for folks to come and engage. And remember, our navigators are bilingual or multilingual, as may be the case. So that's also a plus. And again, for business owners to connect and get the support they need with, this is all services that our City of Tucson Economic Initiatives team is providing. And it's really at the request of our mayor and council. They put a a significant amount of emphasis this year on building a small business team, and our mayor and our council members are very excited about what we're doing. So we're happy to report that. So I appreciate the opportunity to be able to show you a little peek inside the facility, and really appreciate us sharing the vision of the facility, because I think it's a perfect fit. So we're even going to be working on some additional programming. We're already leading a program for our food entrepreneurs that we're utilizing some of the space there in your conference room at La Suprema, but we're looking also at other programs down the way with digital training for small businesses later this year as part of our work. We'll keep you posted on all of those programs as we bring those forward, and certainly in our newsletters where we send out some email updates, you'll hear more about that. So really excited. And again, it's most helpful though, and I think this is where having your viewpoints, Mateo, Jacinta, when you share from your business owner perspective and just business operational perspective, that's what really resonates with our business community. So I appreciate you taking the time to do that. I'm looking to see, I don't see any other questions from our audience, but this is a last chance. If any of you have some questions, feel free to put those in the chat. And in the meantime, we'll continue to keep you connecting. So we'll wrap up. We'll be back next month on Tuesday, July 26th at 3 p.m. So be sure to watch your inbox for the announcement and registration links. We'll keep you connecting for success. You can also call our City of Tucson Economic Initiative Small Business Hotline at 520-837-4100. And you can visit connecttucson.com for resources or sign up for our email newsletters and updates. So with that, again, thank you to you both.
All right, thank you guys.
It was a pleasure.
Thank
All
you
right.
so
You
much.
be seeing me at La Suprema. I'll be there.
Yeah.
Please come by anytime. We'd love to have you.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Bye.
All right.
Thank you,
Great
Barbara.
afternoon. Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Oh my.